Should we sing happy birthday to him? Because it is my co-host's birthday. Happy birthday, my good friend, my good co-host, Hunter JJX. I just want to start this off with a quick monologue and say that I am so appreciative that we got the chance to meet each other, that we got the chance to work together and have the chance to continue to work together. I am such a big fan of everything that you do content-wise, how you carry yourself, your music career. Just the kind of person you are is the kind of person I continue to aspire to be. So thank you for being such a good friend and happy birthday.
Bro, you're just gonna start the show off by like getting me all emotional. I remember the moment for me where it all clicked. We were back in the Cole apartment days. It was my first time out in Dallas, like coming to sign and photo shoot and the whole nine. And you and I were sitting in the kitchen just like chatting. And somehow the conversation of music got brought up, and immediately we just like went down this crazy rabbit hole talking about Spirit Box and how sick Spirit Box was. And that's when I was like, yo, this guy is like my dude. Like this is sick. I'm right where I should be. So yeah, the feeling is absolutely mutual, man. And yeah, it's been an amazing couple of years. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I hope that you didn't for one single second think that we were going to cancel the show, because I want to be here more than anything else. And so this is something that we literally blocked out in the schedule for my birthday, like 2 to 3. The show's happening no matter what. So glad to be here, my man.
I'm glad, because this is the way I get to celebrate with you. You got your family, you got your stuff going on, but like I need an hour of my just in time.
Let's go. Book it in. Book it in. Book it in. That's the easy one, bro. That's the easy one. So like, it's actually pretty funny. People have been saying, "Oh, you're just in time," since I was a kid. Like I just been hearing that, right? And I'm always like, okay, like cool, roll my eyes, like whatever, like you're funny. But when I was on the road with Caskets, they're from the UK. They hit me with a new one that I had never heard in my life before, and I was so pumped to hear something new. And they were like, "News just in," and that to me just like. That like just like finally someone came up with something different. But opening break news just in, here we go, baby. Nick, playlist check-in. What you been listening to, bro? I hear you got some new stuff to share with us.
So obviously, like, we're under the Sleep Token umbrella always, but I've been listening to a new artist the last 2 days. Partially because Download Festival, they premiered their live performance. Partially because I started giving them a second chance. President.
Okay.
I wasn't a big fan when they first dropped their music. Another anonymous band, even though everyone knows who the frontman is. Yeah. And if something Father, for the Father, whatever that
in the name of the Father, yeah.
In the name of the Father, it didn't do it for me. Like the vocal like modulation stuff they did and auto-tune kind of stuff they did on his voice, I didn't love. But Fearless kind of gripped me in the soul a little bit. And Stick My Head in the Sand hopes it make me fear, or would it feel less? Those lines, man, that feels like the world right now. So yeah, I've been listening to President.
I'm ready for the third single, because they played some songs that obviously aren't out yet in the Download deal, and I was watching some videos and I was like, oh, like they got some more bangers obviously that are yet to be released. So I'm really looking forward to that. I had the opposite take, actually. I liked the first single, I think, more than the second one. However, I do agree with you, Hardbody, on like the vocal, like the over processing of the vocals. The issue is like they were trying to mask who it is because he has such a unique voice. But his voice is so good, they should have just like let it ride, you know what I mean? And just like dealt with the fact that everyone is already going to know who the singer of that band is, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I agree. I think there was a lot of like internet debates on like, oh, they're an industry plant, like they don't deserve the spots they got. How does a band that has no music out have like festivals, headline spots? And I'm like, dude, listen, like those dudes cut their teeth. Obviously, if they were in a position to be able to like quote unquote skip the line, they had to have made an impact in some way or another to even like have that sort of access. And to me, it's like, dude, if you cut your teeth for 20, 30 years and like other bands that are sick, by the way, dudes, other bands, if you've never listened to them from President, are really sick. It's like
Fight Star,
obviously,
right?
Fight Star, and then what is it, like Busted or something like that? They're like they're cool, like really good stuff. So I like it. I really like the vibe though, like the imagery, like it's like reminds me of like what is it, Point Break, where they had the president masks and they were like robbing the bank and stuff. I'm like, okay, that vibe goes crazy hard. For me, playlist this week, I keep telling you every time, I'm like, I always end up falling into bands that like I've toured with and become huge fans of. But Bless the Fall dropped a new single last week.
Oh, and did they?
Yeah, and it rips, dude. It's called Mallcore. They're like they're like leaning in heavy into the MySpace like MySpace era throwback emo hardcore thing, like. All the promos for the song coming out were like, big things coming, stay up, stay blessed, big things coming. They were like making fun of all the bands that are always saying like big things coming. And then the song dropped and it absolutely crushes. Like it is so sick. They announced their album coming out later this year, finally. Those boys are on the come up, and definitely would recommend listening to some Bless the Fall.
Yeah, I'm a big Bless the Fall fan, so I did not realize that they dropped a new song. My Spotify has betrayed me. Of course, it's just been literally Sleep Token. I haven't checked any of like the new rock, new metalcore playlists. So it's just like if I use Spotify DJ, my wife was the same way last year when she got really heavy into them, or maybe the year before. It'd be like, and here's what you listened to Wednesday 3 months ago. It's Sleep Token. Okay, cool. I'm in the mood for some Sleep Token.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Your DJ
Here's
is just
what you
like
listen to when
completely
you're in a
skewed.
good mood. Sleep Token.
That's awesome. I also see in the chat someone saying really quick, Peep Callous Cowboys way ahead of you. Band absolutely rips. Just wanted to address that, but yeah,
they're a lot of fun.
Let's dive in, Nick. Let's dive in. What do we got?
Yeah, we got Halo to talk about. So I tweeted it. Roster mania kind of dwindling down, right? The everyone's kind of gone their different ways. We've got the Sparty, Huss, Breaking Shot, Lethal roster. We've obviously got the Complexity roster. We made it Facebook official the other day with Ryan Noob and Nick.
We announced it on Facebook, by the way.
Yeah, change our relationship status. We've got the new Space Station roster starting to scrim, the new Phase roster starting to scrim, and they've signed up for the Open that we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago. So we're starting to kind of see all of the different teams that have formed coming out of this roster mania. The only one we're not seeing a whole lot scrimming right now is Cloud9. I don't know if they're like got a vacation or maybe the dust hasn't settled there yet. I don't know what's going on over there, but I'm sure that some scrims. Actually, I've seen them posting for scrims, so I think they're just looking for stuff. But yeah, all of the rosters seem to be kind of solidified, settling down a little bit, and now we get to see them scrimming. Optic came back yesterday and scrimmed Phase.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, they look like they hadn't missed a beat. We'll go ahead and just start with that one, I guess, and I'll share screen so that we can all take a look at the good old-fashioned Halo Data Hive.
Halo Data Hive has just been carrying this show for us. Can't shout them out enough. Amazing content, dude. So interesting, like Optic obviously looked really good in this scrim if you're looking at just like games played, games won type deal. But like folks that truly understand Halo at a high level know that like when top teams are scrimming each other, they're not really looking for wins and losses. They're looking to see how they stack up against each other. And honestly, like FaZe in a 13 game series only being outslayed by 44 kills.
Yeah,
I think that bodes pretty well for them, man. Honestly.
Yeah, also, there was I guess like somebody fell off the map or there was a team kill because one more death than kills. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the general consensus is FaZe didn't look too bad. And I actually saw somebody pointed out, it might have been on Reddit, where they said, because now that we're not the drama, I actually enjoy reading the write-ups of the scrims.
Oh my gosh.
And somebody pointed out that this is literally like going back and they said it as going and hooking up with your friend's girl to prove she wasn't the problem.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's hysterical to think like, because it really like, okay, if you look at this roster, like if Lucid, Penguin, Trippy, that's 3/4 of the old Optic, if they go and win an event this season with Snakebite when they couldn't do it last year with Formal, who was the problem?
Yeah, I mean that but there's no way you can say Formal's the problem though, because he's won 3 in a row or 2 in a row at this point.
Yeah, but and Formal's Formal, right? Like Formal's obviously a goat.
Exactly.
He's not the problem, but also like imagine even if they don't win an event, imagine they send Optic home.
Oh yeah, there's a discussion there. That would set Reddit on fire for the entire time between events. At that point, they would never stop talking about it.
Like you've already got the Optic FaZe organization-based rivalry, then you have like the team itself rivalry. I'm praying that these teams can match up against each other at some point in Salt Lake City, because I think that will be like the storyline to look at. Like, yeah, at FaZe, SSG, drama, Trippy talking trash, Suppress talking trash, whatever it is. I really want to see this matchup because I love that storyline of like, yeah, Snakebite can go and do it with these guys where Formal couldn't.
I think if anything, dude, Nick, like we're just in like such a good place because it's year 4 of the game when it comes to storylines. Like there is, if you know the scene, and you don't even have to know like really deep behind the curtains. Like if you know the scene, you can see the different storylines and the different teams and their whole deal. Like, and not just with the top squads, right? Like we've talked about the Cherish situation with TSM, right? Like you have TSM bringing the band back together, that whole nine. Lethal, like Has he fallen off? Like, is he looking for revenge now against Cloud9, who ditched him for, a new young gun? Like, there is just so many like rich storylines to be explored. And like, if anything, for me, as just like someone that gets to literally just be a fan of the comp Halo scene, like, I get so pumped for these matchups when I know, the kind of the backstory. And really quick to touch on it, I think I mentioned it last week, but I really just wanted to emphasize, like, when you look at this like FaZe SSG trade thing, dude, like if you remove Halo Infinite from the equation, that trade on paper looks so insane. Like, you traded Lucid and Snakebite for Suppressed and Falcon. Like, and I'm the biggest Falcated fan in the world. I think he's been one of the most underrated players his entire career. But it's like, you traded 2 world champions for 2 people that haven't won an event. I mean, Falcon's won the Reach event, right? Like, I don't want to discredit that, but it's like, it on paper, it looks like an insane move. And so SSG, I think, has so much to prove come their home event here in what, like, just a little over a month and a half now. Like, the clock's ticking, they got to get it together.
Yeah, and I think like it's interesting to see them starting scrims kind of late. I mean, they played in the tournament and then they started scrimming, the following week. And I would have thought they wanted to get like straight to the grindstone because, they've got to implement whatever system works for Eco and Stellar, whether that's, no VOD review, some VOD review, all chaos, all gas, no brakes. They need to make sure that Donnie Suppressed and Falcated can fit into that. And, they're streaming scrims. Nice. Shout out Spartan for continuing to stream and do his thing. And so they're scrimming against that, one of the rosters we talked about, and one of the players you talked about, Lethal. But yeah, I mean, like they've got to keep working on their stuff. They've got a home event, like you said, coming up, and I think they have more eyes and more pressure on them than the FaZe roster does. Would you agree?
I would 100% agree. Mainly because, like, with the FaZe roster, we've already seen what they can do. Like, yeah, Snakebite is different, but we've already seen what this team can do. They've gotten second, you know what I mean, number of times. I think also for Snakebite, he's in a little bit of adjustment period. I don't think we'll ever see him play as statistically poorly as he has been playing lately. Like, that's not going to last for him, and so they're only going to improve there. And so with that FaZe roster, they're kind of in my opinion, like, I might be crazy saying this, they're kind of a lock for top 3. I feel bad even predicting Penguin top 3. He's done such an amazing job of maintaining like a top 2 standard in Halo Infinite, like one of the most consistently placing pros out there. And so, yeah, I really do feel like the pressure is much more on SSG, especially with it being their home event. And we get SSG into FaZe back-to-back home events. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're going to see what SSG puts forth. And then after that, you get to see whether or not FaZe hits them with the, anything you can do, I can do better. Watch what we do at home type deal. So this next couple months of Comp Halo is going to be insane, bro.
Yeah, it really is. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how this roster comes together. And I agree with you. I think Snakebite is one of those players who's very malleable. Like, he has a really good understanding of the game, but he also can just see what his teammates are doing, observe, absorb, and then change and adjust how he needs to fit whatever his team's doing, which is why I think he looked really good, in my opinion, in Dallas for Space Station. I think he looked like a phenomenal player. And I think that's just that adaptability that he can bring to the table with any roster he's on. I fully expect him to continue to do that with this FaZe roster.
I mean, you don't last as long as he's lasted in the scene at as high of a level as he's lasted, winning in so many different titles without being able to be malleable, like you said. It's like literally the perfect way to put it.
For sure. And he's got to change his emblem. He's still got the SSG stuff. He's rocking the old school.
Or is that like a subtle, like, I don't know, is that a way of throwing shade? Like, I haven't forgotten, I'm marking myself with this until I beat you. I don't know. I'm reading into it way too much. But what I'm not reading into is some of these complexity scrim scores. Sorry, I don't mean to jump the gun. I know you probably want to touch another team before, but even just looking at it, browsing, looking pretty good. 13-0 over Tenrai. I mean, that's a good team right there. But the Envy series, man, 11-6, starting to put some things together. I'm really, really stoked. Just to chat with you a little bit about it, because I haven't been able to be as up to date with our scrims lately. So why don't you walk me through how the last week or so have been going for the squad?
Yeah, so we scrimmed Shopify. That was kind of one of our first big tests, and Shopify did Shopify things. I will say this is probably the most maps that a complexity roster has ever taken against Shopify, and there was definitely a lot of maps that probably like we choked more than they won, but they're so good. Like they capped like this Solitude King of the Hill. Like I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, like we were up like 3-1 or something like that and choked. So it's like one of those where like they just have more ice, they have more reps, and they're just obviously insanely talented. And then some of the maps weren't close, like Fortress Bomb. They destroyed us. They're a god tier Fortress team, but overall, like I was pleased with that performance. We were able to absorb and take a lot from that. We were able to play Slayers. Like that's one thing about our team is there's nobody complaining about us running through the entire cycle. Like we will play all 20 maps if the other team does. Most of the time, there's some times where it's just like it's a late scrim and it's been a long week and stuff like Tenrai was like a Saturday scrim, and it was just because like we're gonna have some days off this week, so we kind of needed to supplement it. But yeah, I mean, we started off with that. We were really pleased with that. We were able to learn a lot from that, do some VOD review. We came out really strong against Space Station in this kind of first test, you know, outside of the tournament. They beat us in the tournament, but you know, a chance to scrim them and show up, and that was actually kind of a spontaneous scrim, so it was cool to that came to fruition. So yeah, testing our mental against some of the top teams right out the gate. We got to play the new Tenrai roster, which is the Common, Envor, Ezo, and Haynes. Yeah. So names that you've seen around for a while. I wasn't there for this one, but the boys, you know, their report was that
they put pause on them.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean, like it's a strong team, and so we like, from my understanding, like the guys came to play. They treated them just like it was an SSG or a Shopify. And then Envy, yeah, that's a big one, which also want to give a quick congratulations. Envy, I don't know if anyone saw the tweets, but they have signed some sort of agreement with HCS.
The skins are back.
Skins will be back in the game, which is cool to see. Envy is still looking like a beast, man. We started off hot in this scrim, and then they just took over like 9 or 8 maps in a row.
Gosh. Yeah, wow.
And some of those were close. Some of them weren't even like remotely close, like Live Fire, Oddball, Recharge Strongholds. And I think one of the things I've noticed that they do a really good job that worked against us is they capitalize on teams scamming. Like if you are out of position, if you're not fighting at the right time, they want those kind of fights, and they can make you look really dumb for it. So all the props in the world to them, because they're continuing to look strong like we've seen. And now, you know, based on Dallas, we know they're not just an online team. They can do this on LAN as well. So I'm excited to see the growth of, you know, some former teammates there and Descendant and Precision. And they're really fun scrim opponents because they don't stop. Like they just keep coming at you over and over and over again. And that intensity doesn't ever really seem to die down, which is cool in a scrim. It's kind of like
it's like hit training in the gym, right? It's like you get that super high intensity constantly, and the more you get those types of reps, like the more you're able to adapt to that, right? And like immediately have that intensity going. And honestly, that kind of replicates the way you have to play an event, especially on like a Sunday, right? Where you have to be able to jump into a series and immediately be at like max intensity, max pressure, like, and quick responses. So shouts to the squad, you know, on that scrim. And yeah, I mean, so far it's looking like, I mean, I just couldn't be more excited to watch our roster play, right? We're kind of living up to what we were hoping so far. I know it's just scrims, but beating the teams we should be beating, having some close series, close games with teams that are seated higher than us. So far kind of sitting right in the mix in that kind of top 6 area in terms of scrim results and how it's been looking.
Yeah, this one was one that I was excited for and also kind of nervous for, because I knew this one was going to be a little bit of a grudge match-esque scrim. Just, you know, you look at the rosters and it's like, okay, Huss and Breaking Shot, like Huss obviously got released from Complexity. Lethal was somebody we had been trying to pick up but told us no. Sparty was the odd man out and he got let go. Like, and then obviously Lethal at some point was going to team with Nick and Ryan. So there's like a lot of Mental and Huss have a little bit of a, I don't know what. So there's like a lot of micro storylines going into this, which I like those kind of things, especially for scrims, because I feel like it makes both teams try a little bit harder. I think this team, like score result, like 18-2, like looks really dominant. I will say, I think Redemption was having a little bit of an off night, and I do think that they had some maps that looked really good out of them. They just have some mistakes that we were able to capitalize on. But honestly, I'm really excited to see how this team grows as they continue to like play with each other learn each other's play styles
100%.
and just really flesh out how they want to handle and approach the map and the game modes, because I think there is a lot of power on this team just not fully utilized at this moment because they're still young, they're still new.
I was going to say, like, with this squad, I don't care if the scrim was 18-2. It's still not a squad that I'd be excited about playing at an event, like, just because the X factor overall of the whole team is insane. Like, when you think about what their ceiling could look like with the sheer amount of talent, pressure, speed, like, they seem to have it all, in my opinion. Sorry. But my goodness, dude, 20 games, Nick?
Yeah,
20 games?
One. It was a long one.
20 games, bro.
Every single map and mode, because no picks and bans here at the HCS.
Yeah, dude, that is I've never seen a 20 game scrim score ever.
Them all.
But shout out to them for being down for it, especially since it wasn't really going their way. But they need those reps, and so do we. So nothing but love and props to that squad, and I can't wait to see how they kind of put it together.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that kind of wraps up where we're at tonight. We scrim Optic, which will be exciting. We'll start kind of 20 or so minutes when this show is probably scheduled to end, so it'll be interesting to see. Like, that'll be another big test. Optic coming back into scrims, looked good against FaZe. It'll be interesting to see how we can stack up against a team with that's been together since the preseason roster mania and has won 2 events back to back, both through crazy lower bracket runs. So I'm excited to see like how we perform. Not so much like I don't care about the score of the series, but just kind of like you said, like top teams don't necessarily care about winning the scrim as much as they do about like, okay, how do we stack up? What do we need to improve on? What flaws are they exposing in ours? And I think that's something Optic does a really good job at. So I'm excited to see, like what holes there are in our armor as we're starting to build it, that they can expose for us.
I mean, look at Nemesis though. Nemesis versus Zero Tenacity. Every single scrim that these two teams have gone at, I don't think I've seen Zero Tenacity get more than 1 win.
But the crazy thing is this happens right after Zero Tenacity won that Open Cup. Like the most recent Open Cup for Europe, Zero Tenacity won. Yeah.
Did they win the whole thing?
Yeah, they won the whole thing.
Did Nemesis have their full roster? Like, I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm genuinely curious because like I said, I feel like I've been a little bit out of the loop when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw it. Here, I think this is it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
3-1. Yeah.
Which is, it's not surprising to me from the standpoint of like, dude, look at that Zero Tenacity roster. It is so stacked. Like, it always had been. But like, you've got half of the old quadrant. You've got the best young up and coming player in Mighties, in my opinion, like in the mix. And then now they've got Bastos, who they felt the need to call up, kind of to the big league, so to speak.
Yeah.
So this kind of validates that decision. I had no idea that this went down. That makes this region even more exciting than it already was to me.
Yeah, and I hadn't paid much attention to it because it's just always going to be Team Nemesis 1, Team Nemesis 1. So when I heard, I was surprised. This is my first time looking at the series. I'm assuming this is the series.
Yeah. Look at all those games. Those are separate. Those are needle thin.
Yeah, this to me looks like, without like clicking into them, that Zero Tenacity clutched up, like maybe a little bit of a honeymoon phase with Bastos, and maybe a little bit of foot off the gas out of Nemesis, or just like an off day out of maybe Glory and SLG didn't have the greatest day. I mean, their damage is kind of on par with their teammates, but yeah, like the Slayer's not close. They staked them, and then the other maps are insanely close. So Avicii is saying that this one was in winner bracket. Okay. So so
in losers they went to game 5 is what he's saying. He's saying they played in
interesting.
In winners it was 3-1 and then in losers it was 3-2.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, here we go. 3-2. So even closer.
Wow. But it's not like it was a fluke one-off deal. It was 2 times in the same event.
If anything, that makes it more impressive.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we fell victim to that exact scenario in the last cup for us, right? Like where we beat, was it SSG?
FaZe.
No, FaZe. We beat FaZe, 3-0 and then lost them. So it's like,
yeah,
it's hard to beat the same team twice in any esport, any sport. It's like they make their adjustments. They know what you're coming. I always think the the loser of a series is the one that if it's a close matchup, the loser of the series is the one that has the advantage going into the second matchup because they know they go to the drawing board and they know what adjustments they have to make. Whereas like when you're the team that wins, you have to pre-plan for the adjustments and make adjustments for their adjustments and hope that you're predicting it right. You know what I mean? In terms of how those play out. So it's actually, like you said, extremely impressive that Zero Tenacity was able to win this one. Was this series closer in the game scores?
It looks a little less close, honestly. Like Live Fire is not, 250 to 230 something.
Yeah. The Slayers are both really close though. They swapped that in the other series. The Slayer was the only game that Nemesis won, and then in this one, Zero Tenacity wins both Slayers. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, props to Zero Tenacity. It's funny, you see this, they beat them twice, and then in scrims, I think they've taken 2 maps in the last 2 scrims against Nemesis, but it's they won it when it mattered. So good props to them.
No, massive shout out to Zero Tenacity. I had no idea that had went down, and that's really exciting stuff. Love to see here's one of the things that I was going to ask you about, because I've actually kind of been noticing a little bit. There seems to be a mysterious lack of TSM in the mix.
Yeah.
What's going on?
TSM got top 3. And I think they just took a good break after getting top 3. It's not what I would do personally, but if that's what they felt is right for the team, then, they would know better than I would for their team dynamic. I know they're starting to schedule. When I had talked to Trey, he had said that they were planning on coming back like mid to late June. And he had asked me if we had like 2 dates open later in the month. Both are open cup days, so I know they don't have to play in them. So they should be coming back, this week, next week, by everything that I understand. But yeah, I'm not seeing them. Optics coming back, and again, like I one of them's in the chat, but where's Cloud9? I haven't seen their name on this list.
Yeah, dude, you're 100% right.
They scrimmed Ether on the 12th, so 5 days ago. So maybe somebody's on vacation or something like that, but. Yeah,
we're gonna have to check in on paging Cloud9. What's going on over there?
Let us know.
The thing with TSM, like you said, they're a top 3 team, so their pool spot is secure. I feel like that almost dictates that you work harder in scrims, because you're not getting those like high intensity tournament reps of the opens every week, like some of these other rosters are. You know what I mean? And like, I'm not questioning their talent, their ability. We know TSM is. We've seen what they can do. They're over like time and time again. Those 4 players, they just have an amazing chemistry about them. But like you mentioned, to me, they're not really a team that I would be stoked about taking breaks. I don't want to let anybody else catch up. I don't want to give anybody else the opportunity to outwork me, especially when I just had a great showing and I want to kind of maintain that. So hopefully those boys can lock back into. I know they're all still gaming and playing 2s and whatnot. So at that point, it's like, well, why not just freaking lock in for a scrim even once a week, so you don't fully like you're either getting better or getting worse like at all times as a team. So it's like I would rather just like even do 1 scrim a week to make sure I'm not like deteriorating in any way,
Yeah, no, I agree. And Chaos Dragon, I see you in the chat. Yeah, they did. Halo Data Hive still has the old Cole logo. I don't know who I need to talk to. I don't know if it's just pulling it from the in-game API. But yeah, we need to get that updated. Something I'm noticing looking at this page, though, is you look at Ether, right? And like we've seen Ether be online demons, 7-10 against Space Station, 7-8 against Cloud9. I know they beat us in one of our early scrims, but Ascending Baseline goes 4-4 with them. So does that mean that Ascending Baseline? Yeah, right. But like, to me, right? You look at that. Does that mean Ascending Baseline is coming up to that level and could potentially be the next team that causes upsets coming out of open bracket?
I mean, they're 100% my open bracket team to watch. I don't think it's close. From NA, at least. Like from NA, like they're the team to watch, in my opinion. I think it was already really cool to see the Twins get Suspector last event. I know they didn't have the placement that they were hoping for, but to now match that up with not 1 but 2 bona fide proven stars in Suspector and Super CC, 2 players that are both pros, that are both been there. Like now all of a sudden you're looking at a legitimate threat. And right. And when we looked at the stats from those series, like in the cup against Cloud9, like the numbers that the Twins were putting up, You've got two pros now that you're building your trust with them. You've earned their trust, right? You have like, I guarantee you those guys are now realizing, hey, like maybe we can do something special here. So they're locking in with scrims. I saw them scrimming Zero Tenacity. I think it was yesterday. I was watching a couple of those games. They were taking games off of them as well. And so for them, like they're not taking it lightly. They're not taking time off. They're getting every rep, every scrim they possibly can when it comes to these top teams. And I think it's gonna, like I said, out of NA, they're the number one threat from Open.
Yeah, I think that this is a real. I'm glad that there's finally like a North American roster that looks to be a roster that could come into pool play and maybe mix things up a little bit. Yeah, and Ribby just said in chat something that I completely forgot about until I started reading his message and remembered, and I haven't checked it, but I saw it. Apparently, Ether picked up Noble again.
Yeah. So I didn't want to say it on show because I didn't want to I just didn't want to, stir the pot with, behind the scenes workings. But Nugget told me at the event that they wanted Noble back. And so so when they got home and they were still scrimming with Laura, I was like, well, maybe they changed their mind. Maybe they're, but it seems like they were probably just trying to give it one last shot to see. But the vibe of the team at the event was like, man, I think we clicked better with Noble, and we shouldn't have ever let him go to begin with. And so it looks like they decided to go that route. And I mean, a 7-10 scrim against SSG, that's not a bad start. You know what I mean? Yeah. And shout out to them for not burning that bridge. Once again, to go back to what we always say, like, keep your options open, keep your relationships as good as you can. Even when you get let go or whatever, they were able to patch things up and plug him back in, and they're looking great already.
Yeah, I think it was always interesting to me. Like, Lure is not a bad player. It was just an interesting call-up that they decided to make. And I'm kind of glad to see that this roster is back together, because I think it makes them more, I don't know what the right word is, maybe stable, like more consistent, and maybe that kind of stigma that they're starting to build for themselves of like just being onliners, maybe that'll shift back to like, okay, like they can pull up on land, they can do their thing. Because Dallas, obviously they didn't make it out of open bracket, and that was a shock to everybody. So not saying that it was Lior's fault by any means, just saying like clearly they felt the need to change. Clearly, I mean, they communicated that to you, so I'm excited to see, how they continue to perform. Looks like he was kind of bottom fragging in this scrim, but, maybe he's just got to knock the dust off a little bit and get used to the guys and whatever growth they've had over the last month or two. But,
yeah, and yeah. I don't read into the numbers too much when it comes to the fact that like the series was as close as it was. So who knows? Like we don't know if he was the entry guy throwing himself out there every time to like, open things up for his team, or if he was the ball guy, or, whatever. And so like, I would love to see if we can really quick. I don't know how fast you're able to do this, but like, I would love to see if they scrimmed SSG before with Lior versus now with Noble, like the difference in the scrim score, but I'm not sure if they scrimmed them before or not.
Yeah, I know they have. I just don't know if it was the same version of the roster.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be before Space Station finalized their changes. So,
in that case, it's a little skewed for sure.
Yeah, I mean they scrimmed FaZe the other day with Lior, but they got 14-0'd, so it's like a little bit hard to.
I mean, that might have been the one that broke it.
Like I can switch to that. So yeah, they got 14-0'd, had Lior.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that could have been the straw that broke the camel's back for all we know. I mean, like these games, I'm seeing a lot of zeros on some of these games. So
yeah, not competitive, not the level that you would expect, especially when you look at like a Tapping Buttons roster.
Yeah.
I expect you to at least be competitive in like some they didn't even play Slayers, but like to be competitive for sure. And I think that they're too talented, to be taking any. I don't know. That's a beating right there that I wouldn't expect out of this roster for sure, especially online.
It's bad when they play Fortress twice and Forbidden once, and Tapping only has 7 power weapon kills. Because Tapping is one of the most accurate deadly snipers in the game right now, and I don't care. I'll debate it with anybody. the things that I've seen him do with the sniper rifle, like it came down to the point last year where we would play them both on LAN and on online, and we would say, like, if you are going to die with our sniper, run off the map. I don't care. If you pick up sniper and you're the last alive, throw it off the map and then try to make something happen, rather than die with it or try to make a clutch play. Even if you kill 2 and you die and they pick it up and then it gets in Tapping's hands, we are more screwed than if you just throw it off the map and force them to use standard weapons or other sandbox items, because that is how deadly he is with the sniper. So
and it's the worst feeling ever, right? When like you feel the momentum and the tide of the game changing while he's just sitting there landing shot after shot after shot, just like crushing your momentum and switching the game in his team's favor. Like, there are a few players of that caliber that, like, when they get a weapon in their hands, the game is going to go badly for you. Tapping is definitely one of them, where it's like every single time, and it's like back-breaking stuff. So, yeah, that, like you said, that 7 power-up and kills is kind of shocking, especially when you see Lucid with 15.
Yeah. Speaking of shocking, I mean, I know Shopify are, the gods of scrims. Like, them losing maps is a rarity, but I'm a little bit surprised to see this score line live currently of 12.
Wow.
Like, that's...
Yeah.
Are these maps close? 3-0, 3-0. Which, like, again, for people watching, like, a 3-0 Forbidden Flag could still have been a very close game. Like, without... I mean, like, these games are close, obviously, score-wise. But, like, you could get 3-0'd, and it could have been, like, anybody's game. It could have come down to 1-0 play. Like, you never know, but...
Well, it could be a thing too where it's like it's a 1-0 game or like it could be a 1-0 game or even a 2-0 game close, but then you have to start taking more risks in order to bring the game back, right? And so it ends up being a 3-0 because the clock is running and the team ends up capping 2 flags because you had to OE and try, swing for the fences. So I would 100% agree with that as well. Like, you can't always get the full story from just the game score. Oh my gosh, that was disgusting.
I just don't want to watch anymore. Like, my phone doesn't work that way.
Did we really just turn it on to him doing that to them?
Just frosty things.
Oh my goodness. But interesting enough, and I would love to get your take on this, because I was tuning in the Shyway stream earlier, and they were having a discussion about why they think Shopify hasn't won a LAN yet. And they were going down the list of all these reasons why they think Shopify has not won, like, in terms of like their shortcomings, where to me, my take, and I even posted in the chat, I was like, it's less about what Shopify hasn't done and more about what Optic has done. Like, it's more about how great Optic is right now and how well put together that roster is than what Shopify is lacking. It's kind of similar to, like, the NBA, when you look at all the, like, Charles Barkley and all these great players, and it's like, why didn't these players win? It's like, they were incredible, they were great, but they just happened to be in the same era with Michael Jordan. Like, you can't fault that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to get your take on, like, whether or not you think Shopify is lacking, or do you think that Optic is just being goated right now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird one, because they do so well in all of their scrims. Like, even against Optics, even against SSG, FaZe, whoever it is, like, they don't lose scrims. I think I've only ever seen them actually lose, quote unquote, one scrim. Which I know, again, we talked about, that's not the important thing. The important thing is how you grow and develop. But that makes me question, like, okay, if the scrims are so successful, are they just not getting, like, challenged enough in scrims? Or are teams not giving the same amount? Like, for example, we could beat up FaZe in scrims and then get just dominated by them both in Arlington and in Dallas if we had played them in Dallas. So, like, that was just a testament to FaZe clearly didn't put the same effort in their scrims online that they put into, like, their tournament matches on LAN, and that's often a common thing, right? Like, you step up to that level, you answer that call, that demand that's asked of you. But I think for Shopify, my guess, without knowing any information or having talked to any of them, I would say that maybe they just don't get tested enough in online scrims, and so they don't really get to deep dive into, like, okay, what are the things that are getting exposed, other than, okay, we lost Dallas, we lost a series, XYZ, what happened, what went wrong, how do we learn from that? But if you're not getting reps and, like, chances to fix those mistakes, see what new mistakes are being made, then it's really hard to improve. And that comes down to like the players and best man himself. Like they have to be putting in that extra effort and doing that extra research into figuring out like, hey, like what the hell is causing us to lose, because we look so good up until the point where like we need to close this shit out against Optic.
Yeah.
And that's where things seem to fall apart. And you know, all of that being said, like you are right. Like Optic is doing a lot of things really right. It could just be a simple matter of Shopify's not doing anything wrong. Optic's just doing so much right.
Yeah.
But to me, Optic looks mortal. Both of these events have not been clean wins. Like a little bit of an ego talk here, but I've had some dominant wins in my career in terms of like going to events, not dropping maps, like the closest getting another team to like take half the rounds possible in a map before you go, oh, okay, hold on, let's finish this one out and like go back to the hotel. We've had games like that, and that is not how Optic has looked, but they get into that mode when their backs are against the wall.
I would agree. I would agree to a point. I think you're 100% right in the fact that like they looked mortal until Sunday of this last event.
Until Sunday, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying too.
You
is
know
like
what I mean?
When their
Like,
backs are against the wall, when it's Championship Sunday and they're in their whites, like it's a different beast. They look final form.
They don't look like. I think if you're gonna beat, like, because we have a question in the chat, like, what do you think it would take to win for a team that's not Optic to win an event? I think like you got to knock them out before Sunday comes around, and like we've seen them get close. Like we've seen them go. Yeah. Be down 2-0, like, you know, in losers bracket and have to reverse sweep and end up winning the whole tournament. But it's like if you allow Optic to show up on Sunday wearing white, I think it's too late already.
Yeah, I think teams need to go into it with the mindset, and I'm sure there's teams that do this already, but like teams need to approach a series against Optic with the mindset of like, we're not playing Optic, we're just playing whatever team is sitting here. Like we're playing Halo Sniper 69 and his friends. Like this is not formal bound legend renegade. This is whoever, and we're just gonna play our game and screw whatever they do. Like it doesn't matter as long as we're ready for whatever we want to do. And I think when you see teams make that click and not worry about the pressure of like, oh, we might be the team that eliminates Optic, oh, we're up 2-0 against Optic, bro, we can send Optic home at top 12, like let that bullshit, you know, go past you and just focus on the match ahead of you. And I think that's where you'll see maybe Optic can crumble. But then again, Optic's so damn good. It's hard to say.
Dude, it's insane. I'm almost like sitting here like I'm like thinking way too hard about it, like going way too deep into it. I'm like, maybe you turn off enemy names in game, because it's like, bro, you come around a corner and you're fighting formally, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, okay, like, or you get away from that. You turn the corner into your next situation, like, oh shoot, there's legend right there. Great. You know, you back down from that fight. You're trying to take a different angle, cutting the map. Oh, here now I have to fight Bound. Great, dude. Or I'm weak, and here comes Renegade up the stairs. It's like there is no, like, everyone on that roster is an absolute demon on the map. Like I don't want to catch any of them individually in matchmaking, period, let alone all four of them on the map at the same time. Like that seems like an impossible situation to come out ahead in. Yet we've seen the talent of the league do just that and get 95% of the way there, like, but not be able to close it out thus yet. So
yeah,
I still do, you know, for the sake of the story, like it would be great to see Shopify. I think is probably the team that could beat Optic. I mean, they went to game 7 with them on LAN, right? But man, I mean, at this point, now that Optic has done it twice, like every event that Optic ratchets and puts on their belt, like for this year, I think it becomes harder and harder and harder and harder to take them down, and they look less and less vulnerable each time.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to continue to grow that confidence. They're going to continue to not feel pressure if they're in those situations where they're down 0-2 in the lower bracket run. In fact, I think it'll be less likely we see them in lower bracket runs as they get more and more confident and continue to grow. And I got to give a lot of props to Optic, because I remember last year there was an event that we were going into where we knew they were in our pool. It might have been... What event did we 3-0 them in pools? Was that Salt Lake City last year? I think it was. It was Salt Lake City last year.
It was, because I wasn't there. I was watching it on tour. I remember. Yeah.
And, oh, poor thing, being a rock star. We prepped for that match, and we watched the maps that we were going to play against them, as you know, every team should and probably does. And everything that we saw in our prep was exactly what they did, and we were ready for it. And so it was just a really predictable version of Optic. But with this new roster, that's not the case. And that unpredictability is something so far that has let them, I think, have that ice, have that clutch factor, because you can't fully prep for them the way that you could with the old Optic roster, at least not in the way that I've seen. We've only gotten a chance to play against them once, so hopefully we get more reps against them and I get to prove myself wrong. But as of right now,
I was gonna say I can give you an example of that, like right off the top of my dome. Like in modern Halo esports, like if you're in a situation where your team gets cooked, you go 3 down, you're the last man alive. Like it is a smart play to hide in a corner and try to make a sneak play, right? And like kind of try to either cheese something or just regroup, hide until your teammates come back, make a play. Renegade, Legend, or Bound literally all feel they're the last guy alive. They can still somehow cheese something and kill 2 if you get the last guy weak, or like average 3 people. Like it doesn't make sense. Like when they go 3 dead, Renegade's last up, and you see him pop up in the kill feed once, twice, 3 times. You're like, what is going on? Like, how is the last guy alive getting 2 or 3 kills? Like, there's certain plays that like are, when they do them to you and you see them happening live, you're like, oh, that's demoralizing. That's completely momentum crushing right there. Like you just 3 down them, and the last guy alive got 2 kills and got away. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden they're coming off spawn before your 2 guys come off spawn. They somehow turn that into a situation where they have numbers and they have the advantage. Like, and they do that all the freaking time, dude. They do it all the time. There's just an insane amount of like confidence there, ability to read a scenario, read the spacing, like pick off the stragglers. It's just amazing to watch, honestly. And look at this scrim.
Yeah, I wanted to check because this is the other like live scrim that we saw, and
3-3
good on
so
Redemption.
Far.
Looking pretty solid. So it looks like they're on a fresh Aqua flag, running the flag. Probably going to cap this one. Getting kills in the kill feed. That one's going in.
Wow.
And look, they're up. And now they're like officially leading the scrim because it's tied 3-3 and they've got the first flag cap on this map. They're officially in the lead.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is a team that you cannot, like, yeah, we 18-2'd them yesterday, but like that's such a Fugazi. Is that the right word? I'm
Fugazi.
Fugazi, yeah.
Fugazi.
That is such a Fugazi like scrim result, because this team can just show up. Like, I don't know how else to put that other than they can just, at any point, you look at the players on that roster, that whole team can just show up. Huss has, like, he was part of that complexity roster, that 3-0'd Optic in pool play when everyone was counting us out. And he looked really good. Breaking Shot, same thing. And I'm pretty sure he was on that roster as well. Lethal, world champion. Sparty, really, really freaking talented player. Like, any point, if this team clicks, it's going to be really tough for whoever they're playing against. I hope they find it, just because I am a big fan of a lot of those guys. But this is kind of proving that point. Like, yeah, it's a scrim. Obviously, it's online. Obviously, there's a lot of caveats, but 3-3 against Space Station, starting to get their reps in as well. I would say both teams are equally as new, and I mean, that's impressive.
I would say it's not Fugazi. The scrim just proves that we're a better team than Space Station, obviously. We only let them win 2 games. Clearly, we're doing better. No, but we have 3 minutes before 3 o'clock, Nick. There's one quick topic I wanted to throw at you because I wanted to get your take on it really fast to close out. Kind of shift our gaze here to the open side of things for a fun event going down this week for all of you guys tuning in. If you guys didn't know already, on Thursday, Nick, Thursday is the Believe the Hype tryout day. Have you heard about this program that APG is running? Okay, so APG and Maniac, the OGs from BTH 2009, national championship roster, and now a brand, merch org, whatever you want to call it. They are hosting open tryouts on Thursday they want to put together a Believe the Hype roster that they think can make moves and potentially break in the pool. So they let it be open signups for anyone that's like at least Onyx in Arena. As of today, when signups closed, there was like 70 something players tried out, and APG is they're running like a bracket tournament. They're looking at each player. They're gonna be trying to pick the best players from here and there and put together and field a roster they think is going to be on point. So I wanted to quickly throw it at you. Are there any open players off the top of your head who you think would be a good fit, who you think would be a shoe-in, like you should build around this guy for open?
That's a tough one. I mean, like, obviously there's some names that I've seen in the free agency list of like Ice Kid,
Mm-hmm.
of Kid Nasty. Um, I would have said the Twins, but they're obviously doing their thing on ascending baseline. Um, hell, I mean, a name that I threw in the hat when we were trying to figure out our fourth before, like, during all that roster mania stuff, Command Station. Like, she won the free for all and she beat big names.
She's on the
doing it.
list. She signed up.
Like,
She's trying out. It's gonna be sick.
I think that, and this is a different conversation and definitely not the topic for this podcast today, but I think women definitely don't get the fair shot in esports and a lot of competition, and I think that there's no reason that should be a thing.
Yeah.
And I think Command Station is kind of helping break down those barriers. Whether you like her or dislike her, she's doing her thing, and I think that's really impressive. So I would say that is a name that I would keep a close eye on in that tryout, because if people can push aside whatever bias they might have, in terms of like teaming with a woman, then I think like just gameplay rise. It's like, be completely anonymous, use a voice changer, and change your gamer tag. You would be like, holy shit, this kid's frying.
Yes, dude. 100% agree.
Who cares? Like, just I think that she would be a really good name to keep an eye on. And there's somebody else, but I'm drawing a blank on their gamer tag because it's so hard to keep track of the open rosters as they change. I want to say it was somebody from Dark Inside. What, Morgan? Is that one of the players'
Morgan
names?
Beans.
Morgan?
Yeah, Morgan. Yes.
Because I was impressed.
Really good.
I was impressed by Morgan at Arlington. From what the little bit I saw out of him in Arlington. So, because, LAN is something you want to take into consideration. This is a team that's going to have to fight their way through open bracket, more likely. So, I would say there's some really interesting names. I think it's a cool project. I've always wanted to do something like this in other esports. I have done things like this in other esports. So, good of them for doing this. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to check in on it. Yeah, I would also agree with the Morgan take. There's a certain kind of like demeanor that a lot of players, successful players in esports have, especially when you meet them in person, where it's like they don't need to try hard, if that makes sense. Like personality wise, they're just like they're chill, they're cool, calm, collect, almost like scary. It's like you're at a LAN, there's a tournament, there's lots of pressure, and they're just like chill. You're talking to them, and I remember when I was first time I ever met him, talking to him, I was like, oh, you're kind of a bad dude. Like, I can like tell that, like, and then I watched them later in the tournament, when they're fighting their way out of open bracket. And I was like, oh yeah, like exactly what this dude is, a bad dude. Like, he's nice on LAN. For me with the BTH tryouts, I want to see the roster end up being Ice Kid, Command Station, Gunplexion, and I'm just gonna say Sierrion. I'm gonna throw out those are the four that I would love to see on a roster together. Just all the gun skill in the world, just beaming people around the map. But really stoked to see what APG and Maniac put together with that. And yeah, once again, what a cool project. What a cool way to support the open scene. And this weekend, I believe Open Cups are back, dude. So excited to be able to cover that again. Excited to see what our roster applies to their game from all the scrims that have been going on. And so Halo competitive action resumes this weekend. Maybe I'll throw myself in the blender and get first rounded again. Who knows? But that being said, I'm gonna get ready to take off here. I got birthday dinner stuff, shenanigans to get to. But Nick, before we do that, let the people know where they can find you, what you're up to, and just tell me something good about your week so far.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at TheIashes, though I don't post as much as I should, or just follow Complexity Halo because that's the home. I'll be around in scrims, playing rematch, playing the heck. Actually, that's my good thing,
dude. Yes.
Outside of like the easy stuff, like my wife's amazing, like my dogs are amazing, like I'm blessed. Rematch is released, and this game has just a stranglehold on me right now. In fact, I have Steam open right now, waiting for this show to end, so I can get in like 1 or 2 matches before scrims start.
Oh, we gotta play, please. I haven't installed. I haven't played yet. I've been waiting to find someone that'll play with me to find out you've already been playing it. Let's play that. I want to play that really bad.
I'm here.
So sick. Awesome. Oh, well, for me, you can find me, HunterJJX on Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, Justin UTW on Instagram. Super stoked to just continue on this journey, Nick, that we've been on. Thank you guys so much for the support of Opening Break. It's been absolutely amazing. We've been so blessed by you all. Thanks for tuning in. And with that being said, we'll see you guys right here next Tuesday, same time, same place. Peace, guys.
Happy birthday, Justin.